Good morning. My name is Robin Hyden, and I am from W.R. Castle in Johnson County, and I currently teach fifth grade math and science. Whenever I initially wrote this grant, I was in second grade. Just to review my area of focus, whenever I wrote this grant, I was in second grade, so I wanted to use a tool that my students in the second grade was familiar with. And I knew they were all familiar with Legos. Everybody at a young age starts playing with Legos. And as I was going through my doctorate program, my focus was science. So I learned that the United States as a whole, we're really failing our kids in the science and STEM areas. So I wanted to do something to try to help that at an early age. So whenever last summer we were at the Kentucky Go Digital conference, one of the presenters there had the Lego We Do 2.0. And as I was working with that, I thought, man, this is a great tool to use, especially with my little kids, because it involves, the construction, the engineering, it involves the building and the coding. So my research question was, will implementing a Lego education solution for learning open up the STEM world? Will it open up math, science, technology, and engineering? And will it help foster love of discovery and investigation to help even the youngest students develop social and emotional skills that can set them up for a lifetime of successful learning? Here was my action plan. I did tweak my action plan a little bit due to the fact that I changed from the second grade to a fifth grade math and science. And here were the materials that I purchased with my grant. I got 5 different sets of the Lego Education We Do 2.0, and then I got 5 different replacement part packs that came along with it. Some of those little parts that you'll see in the kit, they, if you don't monitor that very carefully, they can be easily dropped and swept up. So you got to make sure if you're getting this, one of the things that you need to get is those replacement part packs that go along with it. They was really cheap. They were like $11. Here was the survey that I did at the beginning of the year whenever I was conducting this in my class. I sent out this survey on Google Docs using Google Forms to my classrooms. And one thing I just simply asked was, what's STEM education? And most of my kids in the class, they were able to say, well, STEM represents science, technology, engineering, and math. They were able to say what each one of those letters stood for. But whenever I started going in depth and I started asking, well, what kind of careers can you do with STEM? What kind of things do engineers do? What kind of things can you build? And a lot of my students said, well, as an engineer, you can fix a car. As an engineer, you can build things, and so they knew the basics of it, but they didn't really know in depth what they could do. This is what I discovered here. I discovered that most of them knew what the acronym stood for. 55% of my students knew what engineer was or what they could do, but 90% of my students actually enjoyed working with STEM activities. So as a fifth grade teacher, you have to think I have fourth grade students coming up who have spent an entire year in fourth grade doing science because science is so heavily tested in the fourth grade area. So they had that full year. They were able to build that love of learning. And I did find that 70% of my students had participated in a coding event. They had done either like a code.org, they had done some type of a coding activity. Here's some pictures of the students actually participating in class. And these 3 students that you actually see right here, all 3 of these students are in special education. And so I paired them up. We grouped in here. And even some of my students here who were some of my lower performing students who struggled on a day-to-day basis with reading or with math, whenever we had this hands-on activity, this little girl that I have right here, I have never seen her smile so much in my classroom as I did whenever we pulled out these STEM activities and she was able to build that. She saw some type of success in her day. She was able to accomplish something, and that gave her just a great feeling of accomplishment. Here's another little activity. They built that. And here they were working. One of the things that I did find that I did have to work with we're actually 1-to-1. So all of our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade classes have Chromebooks, and you actually have to go in and download the app. It's an extension off of Chrome for the Legos to go through there and build them. It's almost like if you've ever built a Lego, you know how you get the little guide in there that tells you step 1, do this, step 2, and it's like a little flip book. Well, this is an online flip book, and so then after you get that built, you go in and you actually code. It teaches you how to do the movement. So after you've inputted that code, you can actually see Milo move. So this brought a lot of the coding skills to life for my students. So whenever they go on and they do a code doc or activity, they may see Elsa on a run on a screen, or they may see something move. But once they actually typed that program in and saw something that they could physically hold in their hand and touch, once they saw it move, it was like a light was turned on. They saw that this was real world activities. It wasn't just something that they did on a screen. And my girls, studies has always shown that girls don't perform as well in some of the science areas as boys do. But the girls in my classroom loved this and were engaged just as well as any of the boys that I had. And then here's a little video. I thought that would play. This video right here shows them actually building, and this video right here, which it's not connecting, this shows them, this group right here, they've got their Chromebook. You just need one Chromebook per group. And they actually are building this, and Milo is actually moving for the first time. You can see this little girl right here. She is so excited. Her little mouth's open, and they're just thrilled. So here are the results of my grant. After we were finished, 100% of my students were introduced to STEM activities through these sets. 90% of my students had a better understanding of what engineers could do and what careers that engineers had. They didn't just build cars, or they didn't just fix things. Engineers actually had a more broad scale. 100% of my 5th and 6th grade math students were introduced and practiced coding skills. Along with this, Google has a new coding program called Google CES First. So if you guys have never done anything with that, that is also another great skill that you can look on. So along with learning how to code with our Lego sets, I implemented that Google CES First into my classroom, and they really enjoyed that too.